And on the Flow Morning Show, it's music from Imagine Dragons. And coming up, Deep Blue Something's Breakfast at Tiffany's. Bill Shorten has hit the news with an article that John McDonnell has put together for us on the Flow News 24 desk. He writes of Bill Shorten and an opinion piece that he has put together in the West Australian on Wednesday. Bill Shorten criticises the social media trolls and the attack on religious beliefs of people in public office. He was particularly concerned in the recent attacks on New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet, who just announced that his wife was expecting a seventh child. Mr Shorten didn't pull his punches, writes John. When New South Wales new Premier Dominic Perrottet announced he and his wife Helen were expecting their seventh child this week, there was a mixed response, says Bill. Just when I thought politics couldn't surprise me, some of the negative reactions to this just appalled me, especially the attacks on Helen Perrottet. It was just wrong, says Bill. Much of it was disturbing and sad, and the worst of it came from the usual sociopaths who reign supreme in the gutters of social media. Shorten said that although he was no fan of the New South Wales government and that he would prefer Labor's Chris Minns to be Premier, he was appalled at the attacks on the Perrottets, and he made the point that the arrival of a new child was a very positive experience for most people. When news of the Perrottets' new arrival emerged this week, I couldn't help but think of my own experiences of my golden years of helping Chloe raise our children and being a dad. He goes on to talk about some of the anti-Catholic slurs and some of the more deeper type of attacks that were involved. Vilifying Perrottet for his Catholicism is no better than vilifying a Muslim MP for his or her belief in Islam, writes Bill Shorten. And for the main, most people would read the article and go, well, that's probably right. Bill Shorten's getting back on the wagon, and the old Uncle Bill, as we say, is just beginning to come out of that, maybe the crab shell that he's been in after the loss in the last election, which was the election he could never possibly lose, but did, and is now starting to make some of the more recognisable and sensible judgments on things that are happening. Well, he must have changed significantly because it was only 5 years ago when he, in a press conference, attacked Cory Bernardi, a very known Catholic holding to conservative views about marriage. And this is the type of conversation that was had.
We see this ridiculous, absurd obsession by the right wing of the Liberal Party about safe schools and making sure that we have, that'll be the chap, we see this ridiculous obsession.
At least I'm honest, Bill.
Yeah, well,
you're a fraud, mate.
No, mate, at least I'm not a homophobe either, mate. So let's just do the right thing here.
So there we have it. Bill has made some significant changes in his ideas about tolerance of religion. One might then ask why the Labor Party isn't jumping on the bandwagon to bring in a religious vilification bill that has been promised by the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, to which the coalition has yet to get off the ground. It's strange, isn't it, that Labor is not jumping up and down and dancing that this sort of vilification is wrong and so forth and so on. We have Bill Shorten obviously backing it now, and, well, we can only wonder why Scott Morrison hasn't been able to get off his backside and move something forward to take away those sorts of slurs about people's religious beliefs, whatever it comes to. I mean, people, according to Bill at least now, are entitled to their own viewpoints. And it is a changing world, isn't it? But at the same time, people are entitled to hold to a previous viewpoint that the mainstream of society in a past era may have held to. Albeit if some in this era don't agree with that, then, well, they should still not be able to vilify the people who still agree with the past view. And Bill Shorten, well, it would appear that he seems to agree with that, at least in that particular article for now. But I guess it's time will tell, won't it, as to whether we get to the religious freedom bills that are required to stop people who would be charged with a vilification offence simply for employing somebody of their own belief system.